Now we got to check and balance. We need to do this. Responsibility, accountability. We need to do this with our people. They can't just be out there running amok with no guidance over them, with no eyes, not even Congress seeing what's happening or able to do anything about it. We can do this. Let's push for it. Let's push for it. The White House. Behind this news board is a representation. It starts with the White House out top and all these other agencies that it has at its disposal. I call them the henchmen, because that's how they act. See, it all comes from the top. It's all done with a nod and a wink. But this is how they hurt us. And they've got plenty of ways to do it. But let's start off with the DOJ, Department of Justice. What did they do for us? Well, the head of the Department of Justice stood up and called us a nation of cowards. And I take great insult to that. And I mean great insult, and I hope you do too. But that's what we basically got out of our Department of Justice. Let's move over to the Bureau of Land Management. There was a great story. It was a farmer, and he was being charged a lot of money for his cattle grazing. Now, he spoke with some very nasty words, and so everybody left the story. Didn't talk about it anymore. But there was a piece of that story that was real important that we didn't look at, because the man had all his other taxes paid, but in the end, he was being charged $1 million. What is a cow worth? Wait a minute. Well, what can you even get for one of those things? If you sold them all at good price, what 100 cows or cattle be worth? Really, there's a story there, and we need to think about it. But they're able to tax us and go after us. And that's one of the reasons they're on the board. We need to look at this. We need agents able to check into things like this. How are we ever going to get to the bottom of it if we don't have the personnel to do it and the authority? IRS. You'll all remember the targeting that was happening. It was mostly towards the Republican Party. We need fair and unbiased. We are about to elect the President of the United States. And the person that sits up there needs to be fair, needs to be trustworthy, needs to be unbiased. We cannot have targeting. Cannot have it. If we're going to have 50 companies that are Republican being looked at, then there should be 50 Democratic companies that they're looking at. That sounds pretty simple. That sounds pretty basic. But somehow, that's not what we're getting. FDA. Well, the FDA just recently approved tracking pills. Tracking pills. Wow. What do they need these things for? Really got to make you think on that one. Phew. Might need a day or two on that one, right? But these are the things that have been happening. These are the things that have been coming out of there. NSA. Every time we turn around, there's another creepy story. Something's happening. Little of this, little of that. A little more invasive in our lives. Now, there's a big one, and I'm going to end on the big one today. So we're going to move on, okay? EPA. Well, first, any landowner that has water moving through it whatsoever, the EPA now has authority over our properties. Whoa, wait a minute. We pay for the properties. They're our properties. But now, these guidelines have changed without our knowledge, without our consent. We have to check into this. This affects a lot of people out there, not just myself, a lot of people out there. We really need to stand together on this. We can't allow this to happen. We've got to shut it down. Now, on top of that, you'll notice I wrote taxes there. Well, they've also started doing that too. We've got a rain tax in Maryland. Wow, rain tax, what's that? What they did, instead of being responsible Instead of saying any new business being built with asphalt that may leak towards our waterway, we're going to charge you X amount of money more. Instead of doing that, they just said, okay, everybody that exists is now going to pay a tax. And they just have no choice but to go along. Because they're always a minority. They're always no one there to defend them. We've got to end it. If that can happen there, that can happen anywhere. Now, we can talk about all different taxes today, but we want to keep moving along. We want to keep it streamlined. Overtaxation and state protection. More and more and more. Now, Donald hit on the death tax, but there are so many more that I was able to collect. And how many did I miss? That's the real pain. How many aren't even on that board that we, at least I don't know about, can't share with you? It's happening at an alarming rate. Now, there are states that are the highest, such as California, New York, Maryland. But I'm in Massachusetts, they're one too. We need to be able to have a cap, a protection cap. Somebody looking in on us saying, hey, you know what? You're getting out of hand. You're really being terrible to the people. We need protection on this because it's endless. It's endless to the amount they're taking out of our pockets. And real quick, we're going to have nothing left. Let's keep moving on. Accountability. If we don't hold our people accountable, why would they ever try to do things good or well or proper? We have to have accountability. We haven't had it. And it shows. It shows. Story after story after story that we've seen about some of these candidates. I'm not going to get into that. That's not why we're here today. I'm being open. We're reaching out to these candidates. We want to take this MAC to the candidates. Ideally, have an opportunity to sit with them and share and get some of this accomplished. So let's keep this going. Let's keep moving on. Hacking and cybersecurity. It's a real bad problem. I can't tell you how many stories I've seen involving government agencies being hacked, certain files and names and addresses, story after story. It's been happening at a large rate. And more recently, our hospitals have come under attack. Hospitals right here in this country have had their files seized and had to pay money to get the files so they could get back to taking care of the patients. We can't allow this to happen. And we can't wait for every hospital to have the proper budget. Someone has to be stepping in and saying, you know what? If you're a little short, we're going to help you out right now. Because you need to be protected. We need to keep those files safe. Let's do this. Let's everybody rally together on this. Because what if it was somebody you knew going to the hospital and they couldn't get help because the files were held hostage? Let's take action on this. Because we have to expect it to continue. So let's take the actions necessary now. Healthcare options. I personally pay $800 a month for someone else to have it. I'm penalized. I don't have it myself. But yet I am penalized and none of that money helps me. It's just gone. Gone. Year after year. Gone. Gone. It's wrong. It's wrong. Where's the fairness in that? I want everybody, come on, help me out on this thing. My pocket is just, there's nothing left. The lint's falling out. I mean, how are we supposed to get down the road? We can't even buy a break because we're always the minority. We're always being attacked, divided, split up so they can do it to us. We've got to come together. We've got to knock those chips off our shoulders. We've got to come together and really come together. Let's get this addressed. We can do it. I know we can do it. crisis response. Well, that's how I guess this thing started inside of me. Was watching those people during Katrina stuck on that bridge. That is seared into my memory. That we could not get those people even a bottle of water. Greatest country in the world, we've got the assets, we've got the resources, we've got the personnel, but yet we couldn't do it. And they said, oh, it's widespread, it's big. No, they just blew it. They straight up blew it. But we learned a lot. We learned a lot. And one of the things we learned, if the president comes in too quickly, too many resources get taken away for them. So it's actually not good for them to come in right away. They have to allow that time to do what they need to do. Since then, we saw the BP oil spill. Now, that was hard to watch because not one day in over 3 months were we able to collect more than 27% of what was coming out. Can you imagine that number? Now, back then, I tried to write in. I shared my thoughts, and of course they just kind of insultingly sent me some short little nothing, oh yeah, thanks, we're on top of it kind of a thing. Oh yeah, they didn't do anything. He sat in that office, took a check for $20 billion, they flew over, sprayed some stuff on it, and sunk it to the bottom. No. We could have run bilge pumps, common equipment, sucking up a greater majority of seawater than oil, into container ships to deal with that later, a much lesser problem. We could have gone from 27%, we could have increased that so easily, I believe, completely believe, in the 80 percentile. Now, we wouldn't have gotten it all. Let's not fool ourselves. We wouldn't have gotten it all because we weren't totally prepared for it. But if we acted responsibly, and we really addressed it, put the minds on it, put the people on it. We had 17,000 National Guardsmen down there. I had factored out 20,000 personnel doing it. But we had resources right there, right at hand, but it's how they were utilized, and there weren't enough of them. We really need to learn to act and act quickly. We need agents in the field that show up at a moment's notice and make a decision. Is everything okay? Oh, if so, that's the report to the president. Hey guys, come on back in. But if not, they spring into immediate action. They don't have to ask, they just do it. You know, speed is everything when you're in a crisis. You can appreciate that, all of you can. Now let's rally together, because when we're at our worst, we want to know that they're coming for us. That they're on their way. And we can do it. We can do it if we rally this thing together. Very similarly, biohazard. Same concept, but we have to be more prepared. We seem to somehow, we're doing a little, but it's not spread out enough. We don't have enough training happening. We need to get back to that. We need to get to a situation where we feel like, wow, in an emergency, we might actually, we might be all right because we've got some training, we've got some people nearby who are properly trained, we've got the techniques, and we know where the equipment is. Very important, very important. We've got to focus on this. We can do it. It costs money, but we can do it. I'm going to show you all how to pay for it. Don't worry, stay with me. Vaccines. Do you remember when Ebola happened? Now, when we got to patient number 3, we were told they don't have enough. Don't have enough. The United States government is ordering things by 2? Wow. Now that's something you just really have to just stop for a minute. Wow. We have to address it. And how to address it, we need a budget. We have to do this. We have to do this. God forbid something would have happened to us, bad scenario, we'll be dropping like flies. And there'll be nothing for us. We've got to address it. Let's do it. We can do this. Let's rally it. Let's get it to these candidates. Let them hear it. Now, every time you see them in a rally, let them hear the map. Don't interrupt them. Let them speak, please. Do not interrupt them. Let them speak. But before it begins and when it's ending, let them hear it. Let them hear that we want to address these things. Marijuana. We've got a candidate in this race who that's his lead of the whole platform. Wow, I mean, that's just not presidential. It is absolutely not presidential. And I'm reaching out to each and every one of you in that Libertarian Party because you deserve so much better than that. Now, what you need is someone who is completely unbiased, who is not picking a side one way or the other, who is willing to put the appropriate people together, get the right studies going on, so that in a year or 2 years down the road, we can actually look at the statistics, real statistics, good statistics, one we can feel good about, and make a decision at voting time. Now, that's how you responsibly handle it. But you don't pick a side on something like that. Let's move along. Moderators. The moderators, very shortly, we're going to have these debates. And we're really hoping from all of you, and I do mean all of you, that we're going to get good questioning going on. Real good questions. Questions like these. Fresh. New. Not candy-coated. Let's skip the candy coat. Let's really get to it. Campaign caps. Well, there's a lot of things to do that we need to change about these campaigns. One of them is the money. So I use the word cap. This thing has been tied up and twisted for so long, not for myself, but let's say someone from the people really rises up in our future and actually deserves, needs a chance. They're going to be up against $20 billion. They're not going to have a prayer at it. Not a prayer. We've got to cap these things. We've got to keep it real so that whatever monies or fair monies could be generated can equal such a thing. We have to have some fairness. We've got to start to put some rules into play. And if we don't get them to agree to this kind of stuff now, we'll never get it. It'll be swept under the rug. It'll be forgotten. Next thing you know, it's 4 years later. And we're in the same boat we're in today. You know, just look at Bernie. That's it. That's all I have to say. Let's make it real. Let's make it fair. Let's change it. Let's change some of those rules. We can do it. We've got to take it to the candidates. Let's do it. Give them a Mac for me. Give them a Mac. Patent office. Whoo! There it is. There it is. That creepy, I promised you. Whoa. Well, one of the things they did, they allowed them to create a device to not only supposedly capture your facial image. And what they wanted to be able to do is cater commercials to you. That's why they said they wanted it. But it's watching you, it's listening to you, and it's seeing in infrared. Whoa, infrared. So let's just say your aunt and uncle are over for the night, and they're sleeping in that bedroom over there. Well, they can be seen in that bedroom over there. So this is just creepy. These are our personal spaces. We are paying the mortgages or the rent on our spaces. They are private. They deserve to be private, and I want everybody up there, raise the roof on this thing now, because it is happening. It is real. Stand with me on it now, everybody, because otherwise we'll never end it. It'll just continue and get worse than that. There is more. Believe me when I tell you there is more. Let me hear some Macs out there, though. Let me hear that. Let me hear it. There is more, but I'm not going to go there. I will only share it with the candidates if I get that opportunity to speak with them. And the reason for that, I am not going to have it said that I am trying to break down the system. Not trying to break down the system. I'm trying to make the system fair. What's wrong with that? It's only right. It's the right thing to do. And if we don't care enough about ourselves, let's do it for the kids. Let's get this done. Let's not let them off the hook on this thing. They all like talking about that first day in office. Well, the first day in office should walk right over to that patent office, open up the file cabinet, pull that baby out, and reject it. Just like that. No hesitation. Just like that. You saw how fast they acted when they wanted to change the name of a football team. They can act fast when they want to act fast. It can happen. We just need to push it. We need to rally together and not budge. Let's do that. Let's do this thing. Before we get too much further, let's start talking about the money. Because I promised you we were going to be able to pay for this thing. And how are we going to be able to pay for this thing? This is a representation of $100 billion. Now there are people out there saying, hey Matt, you've never even handled $1 million. How can you possibly talk billions and trillions? Just stay with me. Stay with me now. This is a representation of $100 billion. I broke it down as to what I would do with it. It's a hard thing to do, but I did it. Now, it's not perfect. I'm sure somebody out there saying, oh, this should be bigger, that should be smaller. Let's get this presented to the candidates. Let's let them have their thoughts on it. Now, this is a reference to $100 billion. Now, somebody out there banging on a calculator that said, hey, wait a minute, well, we only get like $47. That is per $100 billion. And I want you to appreciate that it took $100 billion to be able to get you that $47. So, please, let's have a little appreciation for when we start talking about numbers like this, because they're huge numbers, but yet I know in the end sometimes they can look small. We're going to be talking trillions. How are we going to get trillions? How could I possibly talk about such a thing? Very easily. Very, very easily. We had $2 trillion leave this country. Businesses that packed up and left, and they're gone. How are we going to get that money back? We're reaching out to you. We are reaching out to you, and I mean really big now. We want you back. We want you back in a big, huge way. We're going to give you such smoking breaks, and we're going to guarantee that we're not going to take advantage of you by overcharging you in the next, let's say, 10 years. We've got to have some kind of cap on it. Maybe it's 8, but we got to get some kind of assurances that they're going to be rock solid for what they're told when they come back. And there's no change in the deal a year down the road or 4 years down the road. It's too quick, too soon. Don't let it happen. Let's give them real assurances. Let's get real handshakes going on, and we're going to get that money coming back. You're going to give them smoking breaks like that, they're going to come right back. With a deal like that, absolutely. So now, we saw just how I'm going to start to spend this money, but let me just run down this list, please. Reduce taxes, money in the bank, military, border, veterans, Social Security, Medicare and Medicaid, schools, education, healthcare, training for the jobs, disabilities, big brother and sister, student loans, crisis response, biohazard, cybersecurity, infrastructure, agents, increased rate of return, vaccines, mortgages, and affordable homes. That's how I broke it down. Now, I guarantee it wouldn't look like this once we're done talking to the candidates. It would change up, I'm sure. But we have to try. We owe it to ourselves to try. This is the time to do it. Because if we wait till that election, we're going to be scratching our heads saying we should have done it. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. No, we're doing it. Let's stand up now, everybody, from Ferguson across the country. Everybody now, let's say we're going to get this thing done. And we're going to start by kicking it off. Let's get some text messages sent out to Fox News. We'll honor them a little bit. Give them a Mac for me. That lets them know you're interested, that you like what you're hearing, that you want to see this presented to the candidates. And candidates, I'm reaching out to you. I truly am. I'm reaching out to you. Let's see what we can do. Can we get together on this? Can we get some of this accomplished? Let's work on it. Now, I think it's important that you've got to study the graph so we can have a better understanding of how important that money is. So what I've done is I've broken it into just a few categories. We've got affordable homes in blue, that's down here. Current climb, that orange line. New business, the green. And overseas business is that red. Now, the blue, affordable homes, okay. We spent that little bit of money, but the great thing is, whoa, check it out. That money starts coming back. It's not gone forever. It started coming back to us now. That's something. That's something to really think about. Real opportunities, we can do that, we got to do it. Now, that orange line, we could expect if we did absolutely nothing, the sheer drive, the sheer will of us as Americans, even in hard times, we would still be putting up a little effort. I'm sure we would. So let's give a little attention where attention is due. So that money's moving along. But they've already got that spent. We know that. Now what's this little pitfall over here? What happened over here? Whoa. Okay, well, I'm not sure what that is. I'm just being a realist. Things happen. We have to be prepared for that. Not everything's perfect. We can't just imagine it just climbs up and up and up with no problems. We're going to have something, so let's show it. That green line, now that's our new businesses coming in, that money. That's why we need to create those incentives for them. We need to get them rolling, get them started. Sure, they get a break in the beginning, but then it's going to start really kicking off. Now, we might not see the greatest benefit until the very middle and end of the second term, but imagine that. Now, add in this red line, and that's what it's all about, to get this red line to come home. Absolutely imperative, because how can we ever talk about anything like what's on this board if we don't have that kind of extra income to play with? Now, we're not going to get that by taxing them more, because that's going to force companies to leave even at a greater rate and leave us with less to work with. No, we need to give them breaks, and we need to get them back here with real handshakes, because if we do, we've got that money to work with. And when trillions are coming in, they're not going to let us have all of it, but boy, if we could get a good chunk of it, 50% of it coming back, every time the thing comes in, everyone in America is going to be paying attention to that clock. Ring the bell again, boom, and everybody wins. Okay? The tax rate just went down more money in the pocket. Not just for the small person, but for that business too. Everybody wins. Everybody on that list is going to win. That's the greatest. We can do this. It is real. And it's just that easy. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. Now, I'm really serious about this with the national anthem. Everybody, please join me. Athletes now, rise up with me, please. We can all come together on this thing. We can rally this kind of stuff. This is the kind of stuff I'd like to think that you're all upset about, starting with Ferguson. So let's rally this thing. Let's get on our feet. Let's stand to our national anthem, because that's who we are. That is our pride. Now we've got a direction. All we've got to do is push it forward. We can text message out. We can get rallies going on. And how are we going to do it? What's the best way to do it? You can make up a sign. You don't have to spend money. Write it on a hat. Put it on a shirt. Get out there and be seen. Let those reporters see you doing it. Be courteous. This is the biggest part of it all. I need everybody on their best on this thing. We've got to be professional. We've got to be courteous. We've got to be polite. All right? We're going to step aside from people. We're going to open doors for people. We're going to show them what we're made of. We're going to show them we are that serious, that we want this, that you want those agents coming down there to make sure everything's on track. You've got to do this for us. Kick it off. Show this country, show this world what you're made of. That's what we can do. Absolutely. We just got to rally together, folks. We got to rally together. Absolutely the scariest, most humbling, most exciting thing I've ever done. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for staying with me. I hope you do it. I hope you get the Mac on. Let's let them hear it now. Every time you see them, let them hear it. We'll get this going. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to show that news board. Because we get a lot of interest on that, I'm sure. You're going to want to check it out. Let's take a minute. Let's zero in on this thing. These are all to do with the states. Out here in the lower corners, all to do with states. We really play our cards right. We really do this. We're going to feel so good about this election. This could truly be the greatest of election of a lifetime. It's all what we make of it. It's all how we go about it. Let's make it happen now. Let's really do this thing. And if we're going to do a rally, if you're going to do a Mac rally, if you're going to honor me, please be professional. Do it. Do it. Turn this thing around. Let's make it happen. Let's do it. Thank you all. Thank you all.